Hello Nidorinas and Nidorinos, I'm KingNido, and today it is the Melamela Rumbles trying to lock up their spot in Victory Road, and to do so they have to take down the Kitakami Rogues, who have not been able to topple that many sides, only getting one victory this season, whereas the Rumbles, next round they will be going into their bye, so they want to go into that with their 6th victory in a row. But with that said, let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win this matchup. Will it be the fighting decks? Will it be the darkness decks? Let's go!
3, 2, 1, go!
And it is going to be that Battler's Spirit deck for the Melamela Rumbles, starting out as they did flip heads. They put that Marchop into the active spot with the Marshadow on the bench. It's the Toxic Energy deck from the Kitakami Rogues with those 2 Venipedes in the active and on the bench there. But here we go, starting off our round 6 here in the PokeType League VGC, and as we said, the Rumbles did flip heads, so they're going first. They've drawn the Marowak, they've got the Machoke in hand as well, as they play that Professor's Research to get a Pokeball and an X-Speed. They won't be able to put down an energy, but they do play that Pokeball, thinning the deck a little more to get the Cubone, which will go fantastic with the Marowak here. We know that the Rogues can be very powerful decks. They just struggle to win series here. They can win individual games, but they need to get at least 2 in this best of 3 series, as it is the Purloin being put out for the Rogues, and they do go for that Ram to get that 20 damage onto the Marchop, but it does come back over to the Rumbles, who pull their 2nd Cubone, and they can start generating energy here as they put out that Marowak onto the Cubone, and they look like, and they are going to evolve that Marchop into the Machoke here. Keeping in mind, Marowak only requires 1 energy to start going on the offensive. Machoke requires 2, so they use the potion, but they cannot go on the offensive just yet. Sending it back over to the Kitakami Rogues, who pull their own Pokeball, which they can play immediately. They've got the Muck and the 2 Kogas already in hand as well. Pulling the Grimer as well, which is fantastic for that Muck card. It only requires 1 energy to get the Grimer online as well, and it will poison the opposing card. And the Rogues looking at their hand, trying to decide what they want to do. Do they want to retreat the Venipede and potentially start using the Grimer? No, they're going to continue to ram this Macho, getting another 20 damage, offsetting that potion that was used. The Giovanni now being pulled for the Melamela Rumbles, as that 2nd energy now being put onto the Macho with the Giovanni being placed down. It is going to do that additional 10 damage to do 60 damage to this Venipede with the strength, and it gets the 1st point plus that extra 20 damage from being super effective as well with that weakness. As we said, the Rumbles have just taken the 1st point, and the Rogues really need to think about how they want to handle this from here, with a lot of darkness cards having that weakness to the fighting typing. But it is the 2nd Muck here being pulled for the Kitakami Rogue, so they can evolve that Grimer, but then it will require 3 energy. And they're thinking about where to put that darkness energy, putting one on to the Purloin here, so it can go for the Scratch, getting an additional 20 damage onto the Machoke, trying to chip away at it here, but they're not getting much done, as it's the Marchant being pulled for the Melamela Rumbles, only requiring 1 more energy. It can wipe out any of the 3 Pokemon currently active for the Kitakami Rogues, and it looks like they are about to start with that Purloin with the Seismic Toss. 100 damage there, wiping it off the table. And the Melamela Rumbles in full control here in Game 1, with the Rogues backed up against the wall. They have not gotten a single point, and 1 more taken from them will give Game 1 to the Melamela Rumbles. But as we always say, even Game 3, regardless of the first 2 outcomes, does count towards our leaderboard, so the Rogues really need to think about how they're going to play this strategy here in Game 1, and it looks like they are thinking of evolving that Grimer, but there is that hesitation. They're very unsure what to do. As we said, they are backed up against a wall here with the Rumbles in full control. And they have put that 2nd energy down onto the Grimer, and they finally make that decision. They are going to go with the Muck, so they cannot go on the offensive just yet. So they send it over to the Rumbles. They pull their 2nd Machoke, but again, they are in full control. They put an energy down onto the Marshadow, who does require 2, but this is good setup as that Seismic Toss, 120 damage onto the Muck. It has 10 health left. This is terrible for the Rogues. The Rumbles are in full control. They can get 70 damage off, but that is all they can do. If Marchant was poisoned, this Venoshock would be doing additional damage, enough to take out the Marchant. but it is just not enough. And the Rumbles even pull the Giovanni so they can get that additional 10 damage. And again, this does count towards the leaderboard, so they are not being disrespectful. They are maximizing their offenses here, and they take game 1 with a massive 130 seismic toss. Now the Rogues will need to quickly regroup here for game 2 in this best of 3 series. They don't flip the head, so again it will be the Rumbles going first, and this time they're using that full combat deck as they do have the Hitmonlee and the Sandshrew in hand. They're going up against the Poison Pins, who we can see has the Nidoran female. It looks like they've got the Nidoran male as well, and they've got the 2 Nidorinas. And they opt to go with the Nidoran female here in the active spot. It's the Sandshrew that will be in the active spot for the Melamela Rumbles. Nidoran male put onto the bench as well. There's that Professor's Research. The Rogues have the Rumbles, have a Pokeball, and 2 X speeds. But here we go, game 2. And already the Melamela Rumbles have pulled that Sandslash. They can't get an energy down onto the Sandshrew yet, and Sandslash does require 2, but they do pull the Hitmonchan thanks to that Pokeball. Fantastic basic Pokemon that they can set up alongside that Hitmonlee on the bench, giving them options going forward. But it's the Nidorino already being pulled for the Kitakami Rogues as well, and they do play that Professor's Research. They get the Nidoqueen, they get a Golbat there as well, but the 2 Zubats are still in the deck, putting that first Darkness Energy onto the Nidoran female. It can do the Call for Family to get that second Nidoran male out of the deck and put it immediately onto a spare spot on the bench, but it comes back over to the Rumbles, pulling their second Sandslash here, but they can start to generate energy as they think about where they want to place it. They're hovering over the Hitmonchan, they're going back and forth between that and their Sandshrew, it looks like, as they're contemplating their options. They do have the 2 X speeds, but they are going to go with the Sandshrew, going with that Scratch, getting 30 damage thanks to the additional 20 from that weakness onto the Nidoran female. And speaking of Nidoran females, the Rogues do pull their second, putting that immediately onto the bench, with the Nidoran female in the active spot being evolved into a Nidorina, and it only requires 1 energy to start going on the offensive as well, as they do opt to evolve one of those Nidoran males into the Nidorino. And the Rogues opt in to put that Darkness Energy onto the Nidoran female that is on the bench, as they're looking at that Nidoqueen as well. They go with the Bite on to the Sandshrew, getting that 30 damage, but they're unaware that the Sandshrews are in hand. They will be able to wipe that Nidorina off the bench, as the Professor's Research that was pulled by the Rumbles is put down immediately. They get the Pokemon Flute and they get that second Pokeball. They are going to play that Pokeball immediately to get another basic Pokemon. This time they get that second Sandshrew. Fantastic, as they already have that second Sandslash in hand, but there's that second energy going onto the active Sandshrew. It is being evolved into the Sandslash, and this is about to take that Nidorina off the board. Again, the Rumbles taking the early lead against the Kitakami Rogues. And this is the type of domination we have been seeing all season from the fighting decks. They are so hard to contest against, but it is the Nidoran male being put out by the Kitakami Rogues, and they pull the Nidorino as well, so they can evolve that immediately if they choose to, knowing that it will still be taken off the board by that Sandslash. It is just too powerful with that 70 and the additional weakness damage as well. They get a second energy onto the Nidorina that they've just put onto the bench. They are going to evolve that Nidoran male into the Nidorino, and they send it over to the Rumbles, who pull their second Hitmonchan, but the bench is full, so they can't put that down. They can use the Sandslash though, so they've got 2 Sandslashes already set up, and that one in the active spot is going to take this Nidorino off the board for the second point for the Melamela Rumbles. However, the Rogues, they can finally get this Nidoqueen online, and it just requires 1 more energy to start going on the offensive. So they put the Nidorina into that active spot as it comes back over to the Rogues, who pull the Nidoking as well. But here it is, the Rogues getting that Nidoqueen online, and they get the Nidoking online as well, which means this Nidoqueen's Love Strike is going to do additional 60 damage, 130 damage to that Sandslash, taking it off the board. The Rogues could work their way back into this. The Rumbles really need to think about how they're going to approach this. They put that second Sandslash out. They are going to try and maximize their damage here. They also pull the potion, but everybody is at full strength. They put the Hitmonchan, that second one, onto the bench as well, that second energy onto the Sandslash, and it is going to go for that slash with the 70 damage, but again doing 90 thanks to that weakness, leaving Nidoqueen with only 50 health remaining. It is the Pokeball being pulled for the Kitakami Rogues, and they don't have any potions that they can use, so they play down that Pokeball. They do get one of the Zubats finally out of their deck, as they really need to think about how they're going to approach this from here. And we know Nidoqueen can take this Sandslash off the board, but those Hitmonchans that are on the bench for the Rumbles are only requiring 1 energy so they can get on the offensive. As the Rogues thinking about what to do with this Darkness energy, they opt in to put it onto the Nidoking, and there's another Love Strike here, taking another Sandslash off the board to level it at 2 points each. But again, that Nidoqueen only has 50 health remaining. The Rumbles opt in to put in one of their Hitmonchans, and they can go straight on the offensive. They just have to put 1 energy down. They pull out a Primeape, but they have not pulled a Mankey yet today, so they are just going to get that energy going with the jab, gets the additional 20 for the weakness, and the Rumbles have taken game 2 even after the Rogues were able to work their way back into it. But with that said, the Rumbles have locked up their spot in Season A1's victory road. They have ensured they will be a top 5 side this season, as the Rumbles will actually be going second here in Game 3, as this does still count towards the leaderboard, so the Rogues need to do everything they can with this Rocket's Pursuit deck. It is the Rumbles using their Rocky Boulders deck that we know can be extremely powerful. Now the Rogues have their 2 coffins, one from the Mythical Island, one from the Genetic Apex set, plus that Meowth as well, and they are using that Genetic Apex coffin in the active spot, but they do put their second coffin, and they are thinking about using the Meowth, but they opt to not go with the Meowth on the bench. The Rumbles putting out that Onix all by itself, but they do have, it looks like the Geodude. Sorry, it is a second Onix in hand, not a Geodude here, as it's the Persian being pulled for the Kitakami Rogues. They're going to play that Pokeball. You have to think they'll put down the Meowth soon, as they are also able to take out an Ekans from their deck. And they do put down the Meowth, but they can't generate an energy, so they send it over the Rumbles, who now have a Geodude in hand, and they've got that Graveler as well, so they can get that evolution on their next turn, but not just yet. Getting that first energy here onto Onix, who does require 3 fighting energy to start going on the offensive, so they send it back over to the Rogues, who do pull their second Koga. They've got 2 of them in hand now, and they evolve the Meowth into that Persian here. And it is the first energy going onto the coffin, so it can go for this suffocating gas, trying to chip away at the Onix here, only doing 20 of that 20 damage to that 110 health Pokemon, as it's the Golem being pulled for the Melamela Rumbles, and it's the Mythical Island Golem. They do have both, but that one is much more beneficial to this side, as it reduces the damage it takes in future turns once it starts going on the offensive, whereas the Genetic Apex Golem will get that recoil damage. There's the second energy for the Onix, but again, still waiting 1 more energy. They send it back over to the Rogues, who get their first energy onto the Persian, and the suffocating gas continues onto the Onix here from the Rogues. But that Onix will be online very, very soon as the second Pokeball here. The Rumbles are going to play that immediately, and they get another Geodude out of their deck that they are going to put onto the bench. And there's the Golem being set up. It is on the bench here, but it requires 4 energy to get online. This Land Crush from Onix is going to wipe Coffin off the board, 90 damage. The Rumbles capitalizing on that type advantage they have against the Kitakami Rogues. Already this game 3 does not look good for the Darkness decks. They put their Persian into the active spot as the Arbok is pulled for the Rogues, so they put that Ekans onto the bench. They set up the Persian with its second energy here, so they can go for the Shadow Claw. It will do 40 damage, but it's also that coin flip that will be crucial. They can potentially cause the Rumbles to have to discard a card from their hand. But they get the tails on the coin flip, so the Rumbles do not have to worry about it, and the Onix here can wipe this Persian off the board in one go, as well as that Myanshar is pulled for the Melamela Rumbles. They don't have a Myanfu in hand just yet, but they can go for this Land Crush that is going to wipe Persian out. Now, it will only require 30 damage for the Rogues to get Onix off the board, but I'm not sure they've actually got a Pokemon here Although looking at that Ekans closer, it can do 20, and they've got the Giovanni in hand unless they opt to evolve into the Arbok here. But no, that is what they're going to do. They play the Giovanni onto the Ekans, doing the additional 10 damage. They can take this Onyx out of the game, getting their first point in this matchup. And as we said, that Golem requires 4 energy to get online, so the Rumblers really need to think, and they do opt to go with that Geodude, who only requires 1 energy. It can start capitalizing on the type advantage it has over the Ekans. The Brock is pulled for the Melemele Rumbles. They can get an energy for free onto this Golem, so they will get to play down 2 energies this turn. They can use that second energy here onto the active Geodude, and it is going to start going onto the offensive with this tackle doing 20 plus the additional 20. Ekans is left with only 20 health left, but the Rogues again do have that Arbok that is crucial. They've just pulled the Professor's Research, who they do put down immediately, so they are going to get the Weezing from the Mythical Island and their second Ekans here. But they place down this Arbok. It will only be able to do 60 damage to Geodude. It will not be enough. But we do know that Geodude will not be able to retreat from this Arbok once it goes on the offensive with this corner. They are thinking about where to put that second energy. They need to not put it on the Weezing. Arbok still needs one to go on the offensive, but the Rogues seem like they might be panicking, and they do put it onto the Weezing. They're willing to give up a turn. Very interesting play as the second Mienshao is pulled for the Rumbles, and there's another energy being put onto the Golem. I'm not sure what the Rogues are thinking here. They must not be feeling confident, although with that smoke screen, maybe they want to negate any energy that the Weezing takes. It will be coin flip based. There is the X speed for the Rogues. They are going to put that second energy onto the Weezing. They place down the X speed. This will lower the retreat cost of the Arbok by 1. They've got the second one in hand as well, but they don't worry about using it. They know if they lose another point, they are out of this series. And they do have the Weezing to go with the smoke screen, doing 50 damage. It won't take out the Geodude, but again, it will come down to a coin flip. And if it is a Tails, that means Weezing will avoid any damage. It's the Rumbles pulling the Professor's Research, which they can choose to place down here, but they're going to use the Leaf instead. They want to bring back that Geodude so they can put the Golem into the active spot. And with this guard press, it can do 120 damage. It doesn't have to worry about the coin flip, and just like that, the Rumbles have clean swept the Kitakami Rogues as they continue their domination in Season A1 here of the PokeType League VGC, and we have to wonder, can anyone take them down, as they have locked up their spot in Victory Road. But next round they will have the bye, and after that they are going up against the Pastoral Hydros, whereas for the Rogues, next round they will be the side going up against the Pastoral Hydros. But until then, Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below who you thought the best card was. And if you enjoyed what you saw, please leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, you are awesome, and I'll see you when you see me.